Hey, Read Through the Word. Today is September 29th. Can you believe only one more day left in the month of September? Okay, today's lesson is called Fishers of Men. And so I'm excited about this lesson because this was fun for me to do. So I am in Matthew chapter 4. I'm basing the lesson off of Matthew 4:19, but we're going to read 18 through 22 in chapter 4. It says this: One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, also called Peter, and Andrew, throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Remember that. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." So in other translations, we'll say fish for men, but I like that the NLT says fish for people. And they left their nets at once and followed him. A little farther up the shore, he saw two other brothers, James and John, sitting in the boat with their father Zebedee, repairing their nets. And he called them to come too. They immediately followed him, leaving the boat and their father behind. Also in this reading is my. Sometimes I don't reference. I'm bad about not referencing my something old, but was talking about the prepare the way for the Lord, and that's just the last lesson I did with y'all. I know I'm a little off right now, and this is going to have to be my schedule for right now. So, this is it. Now, here's what was fun for me to do. I am not a fisherman. Nope. My son is. My oldest son. So some of y'all hear me talk about my oldest son is 22 years old, and he's a fisherman. And so, my parents have a place in the South. We say at the beach in South Carolina. And so Linda says when she goes, she says to the shore in New Jersey. So it's just funny how, but when we go down there, my son will go fishing. Now, he's got 3 different ways to fish while he's there, and they all fit into this, which was really interesting to me because, you know, the most I've ever fished has been on a camping trip. I might hold the rod for a little bit, or at the beach, if my son's surf fishing and he needs to like cut his line or do something else, if I hold the pole, but maybe reeled something in once. I don't know. But so this is Jesus telling people who are already fishermen. They fish for a living. That is what they do. And so they know what they're doing. So this is by no mistake that this is what Jesus calls them to do. And I think it's interesting. So, when Jesus calls his disciples and he tells them that he was going to make them fishers of men, they left. Now, what is the idea of fishing? So, I Googled this. I Googled it. How to fish, and I got videos, lots of videos on YouTube on how to fish. I need to see lots of videos on how to fish. I watched a couple of them, and there were some articles on how to fish, and I took notes. Aren't you glad? Okay, so the idea about fishing is to know the fish that you're actually looking for and attract it so you can make a catch. So, you need to know how to fish. You need to know what equipment to use. You need to know the fish you're looking for. You need to know the depth of the water and the habitat that you're fishing in. Know and know the effective kind of bait to use. Like, to know, those are the things you need to know. So, after we stud everything we need to go fishing, how does that relate to being fishers of men? Okay, here's what's interesting. Is this whole, so now we're going to go back to my son. So when we go to the beach, some days he will go surf fishing, which means he actually walks down on the sand, walks into the ocean, and he does this he always gets a fishing license while he's down there. And we're rule followers. And he'll walk out and fish. Sometimes he heads to the local Walmart and buys bait because he knows the kind of fish, and he has a special pole that he uses in the surf. Now, and then sometimes he goes out with a net and he throws the net, and my daughter's actually pretty good at it too. With the net, he throws, or he'll hand her the net, and she'll go throw the net and catch him bait. So like little tiny minnows, or the ones in the ocean called minnows. See, I don't know these things. Okay, so they go and catch all that, and that's what he'll use as bait. And so he knows the kind of bait he needs. He uses a net, and he uses a different kind of pole based on what he's going to get. And he's usually going to get a whiting or something down there. Now, sometimes late at night, when it's cooled off and you're not standing out on that long pier in the heat of the day, he'll go surfing on the pier. And so the pier goes out, and you have to have a different pole to do that, because you're going to catch some, a lot of times you're going to get a shark, or you're going to get some really big things that are heavy, so you need a different type of pole. He will usually buy that kind of bait. The kind of bait he needs to get the fish off of that pier. Now, he's probably going to get a flounder out there. He could probably sometimes mistakenly don't actually want to catch the shark, but he's done that, and I think he's caught like a barracuda before. I think that's what that was. See, once again, I don't know. I just Googled. But I've seen that. Now, if we were to go fishing there's a really big park near us with a campground and everything, and if we go camping or something there, that's totally different type of fish. Or the mountains of North Carolina. If you go to the mountains of North Carolina, there are stocked trout streams. That's fly fishing. Totally different type of fishing. So based on what you're doing, you have to know how to fish, and knowing how to fish means knowing lots of things. How does that work for us? Why did Jesus say we're going to teach you how to fish for men? So, here's what we know. So, we need to know how to fish. First thing we need to do is we know what equipment to use. Based on my son and just watching him, are we going on the surf? Are we catching, are we going on the pier? Or are we going in the mountains where you're going to need a fly rod? What do you need? For us, our fishing equipment is found in the armor of God. 2 pieces. So the armor of God is Ephesians 6, 10 through 18. Verse 16 and 17 tell us that we need the shield of faith, because that's to ward off the opposition who don't want to see us catch fish with the gospel of Jesus. And we need the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. That's the equipment we need. That's the equipment we need. We need to know the fish that we're looking for. Well, Jesus told us in the Great Commission that ours is, he's asking us to make disciples of all nations. And in Matthew 28. So that's the type, know the fish you're looking for. Next, we need to know the depth of the water and the habitat we're fishing in. Know the world around us. Know the condition of the people around us. 2 Corinthians 4:4 says this: the God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers so they cannot see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is in the image of God. Don't get angry with unsaved people for acting unsaved. Understand the world around us. I tell my students in my class that this doesn't mean the knock on a door, say, do you know Jesus, and run. It's going to be by conversations at work, at the grill with the neighbors, or at coffee houses. It's going to be in relationship with people. Know your fish. Know the conditions they live in. I always tell my students, before you try to give lots of people all these answers, you need to ask right questions. Ask people questions. So, what do you believe? Why do you believe that? Well, ask. Because the questions right there, the questions you ask and the answers you receive are part of knowing these people and knowing the place where God has placed you and how to, this is the beauty of the gospel. The gospel is very simple, but it's also very complicated in that there's different parts of the gospel that based on answers you receive from people. I always tell my students that someone who has lived in a works-based religion, the idea of grace and guilt is hugely freeing to them. So understanding so that's part of that. That knowing the lost condition of the people around us, what people believe, why they believe that. What do they believe about God? What do they believe about Jesus? Because so many times people don't want to hear from us because of their preconceived notions about what we're going to say. So that's part of it, is knowing the lost condition, knowing the depth of the water and the habitat that we're fishing in. Know the effective kind of bait. This one is the easiest. There's only one. The only effective net, the only effective way is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, to the world, it's foolishness. 1 Corinthians 1:18 tells us that. But we know, according to Romans 1:16, there is power in no other message. Only the name of Jesus saves. So, in Jesus' call to his disciples then and his disciples now, follow him. Learn about him. Know his mission, which is our mission, to make disciples of all nations. Know his message. Learn how to fish and be fishers of men. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.